Welcome back to the Daily Carry Podcast, episode number 25 today, and we are excited to talk to you. If you are watching online, then you can see that I am all camoed up. You can't even see me.
I don't.
If you're watching online, you can't even see me.
I see your headphones.
You can't even see me. I am fresh from another hunt this morning, and if you guys are wondering how I'm able to just come on to set to hunt, it's because we're taking this seriously.
We're dead serious.
I will interrupt my hunting schedule to make sure that we are staying accountable to our podcast schedule, okay? Now, the truth is that I have been fortunate enough this year to get what's called a plains tag in our area, and literally where I'm sitting, this is the unit. This is the hunt unit. We're in it right now.
Which is, if you know anything about hunting, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost unheard of.
It's pretty crazy. Well, we are on the east side of I-25 major highway here. Normally, almost all the elk hunting that anybody would ever think of is going to happen on the west side of I-25. But I've got a plains tag for Unit 104. That's the unit that we're in Colorado. And I have a friend, Kyle. Shout out to you. We've talked about you on the podcast. You are the Eggman. Foul Egg. Shout out to Foul Eggs. And So Archery. He's got an archery range.
The Rooster.
But he has been so kind as to let me go hunting at his property this year. And he's got an awesome setup, man. His property is, for 35 acres, it honestly is one of those properties that just feels like it could be a couple hundred acres.
It does.
It's just so, the landscape just has so much variety. It's pretty incredible. But every single day that we've gone hunting, we've been on bulls. They have been bugling. The challenge being on private property is we got to get them to come on to his property.
Right.
So there's a lot of activity that's been out there. There's a lot of beds. There's a lot of scat. There's a lot of tracks. And it wasn't very long ago that he actually took a video of them up there on his property. But for the past couple mornings, they've just been hanging out on his neighbor's property and haven't come on to the right side of the fence yet. But thankfully, one of the benefits of hunting with the bow is that you get an entire month season. So it's the entire month of September, almost the entire month. It starts September 2nd all the way to the 30th. So I've got some time still left to get it done. I will be going on an actual proper hunting excursion next week with some buddies. We'll be gone, and we will be not just hunting here in this area, but in another area. We'll be gone for a couple days, and hopefully we'll get some good results. I actually have one of my friends, Aaron. Aaron just now was with one of his buddies. He got a bull down yesterday morning.
Wow. And
I saw that picture, saw a video, and that was a nice bull. That was 6x6. But it is full swing hunting season right now. Guys who are into bow hunting, they know, man, September is a sacred month.
Isn't Joe Rogan a big bow hunter?
He is, yeah. And so the guy who got him into it, from what I understand and what I remember, what I've seen, is Cameron Haynes. And he has Cameron Haynes on his podcast actually pretty frequently.
We should get Joe on here and talk about it.
Wouldn't that be something?
I mean, we'll just call him. He can burn up here real quick.
Let me just send him a text real quick. Just say, hey.
I'm down with it. And the fact that it's only like 7-minute drive, he'd probably like that.
What would be cool, here's the thing. September, like I said, I already just said it's a sacred month, but I know that Cameron Haynes comes to Colorado every year in September.
There you go.
But Cameron Haynes would be awesome to have on at some point. That would be really cool. I've been inspired by Cameron Haynes for quite some time, since I was just a young bow hunter getting started. And he's definitely the foremost, most popular. Everybody knows him. Anybody in the bow hunting world knows Cameron Haynes. Cameron Haynes is the most well-known bow hunter that there is. And he has, for years, just the bulls that he's taken, the trophies that he has, but the experience that he has, and also the approach that he takes to hunting is incredible. He's in incredible shape. He literally runs marathons on the regular, and it's all, if you ask him, it's all for hunting.
Yeah.
He is in shape. That is his purpose for being in shape, is hunting.
Dude, running that property with you, what was it, a few weeks ago we were out there?
Yeah.
And you guys were just kind of dialing everything in and on all the mock-ups that he's got. It's really cool. He's got a whole course out there. And the undulation on that property, I know we talked about this before, probably drops down 100, 125 feet at some point. But you're right. You feel like you're on hundreds of acres and you're on 35. But the transitions and the changes and the elevation, just all of it, and the everything from scrub oak to big trees. I mean, he's kind of got a lot of water. It's a really cool piece of land back there. I could definitely see you getting something this year.
I'm hoping to get something off this property because the thing is what's really motivating why I would even want to hunt this area is because there's a lot of very, very big mature bulls because they're not hunted. There's not very many people that hunt this side.
Makes sense.
And they need more people to hunt this side to make sure that the population is being managed, that, conservation is doing its thing.
Sure.
And right now there's a very big population of elk on this side of the highway. And I mean, they roam and they range all this entire stretch. Like there's elk pretty much everywhere. And they're going to be staying on the side. They're not really going to be very successful getting to the other side of a major highway without,
Well, they will
squashed.
when they finish that bridge. Have you seen it?
The one that's right in front of us?
No.
Are you talking about the one that's down there, like right between?
By Greenland? Have you seen that?
Is that that's a wildlife bridge?
That is a wildlife. Dude, I drove past that thing the other night coming back from Monument. For anybody not around here, they're building a bridge that goes over I think it's 7-lane now, freeway, and the bridge going over the freeway is every bit of 7 lanes wide. It is a massive bridge. It's an Animal Crossing.
That is wild.
The
whole time that they've been building that, I've been thinking, why are they building an exit here?
Yeah, there's nothing
there. I thought
there.
it was an exit.
Yeah, there's nothing there. No, it's literally a wildlife crossing. Have you ever seen the? I got to do 2 things real quick. I got to do a quick shout out. Mike Yost, who's up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, who is an avid hunter. Avid. He like worships every word you say. He texts me, he's like, George, the man. Like, I mean, all the stuff you're talking about. I'm in episode 24. You guys are killing it. He made this shirt, by the way. The Yoster.
That's
awesome. As I call him, made this shirt. So, and people have asked me, like, where do you get the shirt? I'm like, yeah, you got to go to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and go visit Yost. He'll get you a shirt. He'd be super jealous right now of you being out there on that property because, like, this is his thing. So, 1, to him. And then 2, back to that bridge, I'm driving underneath it. Somebody said something to me about it. I actually took a trip back down there to look at it. I actually got pulled over on the side of the freeway, got out, like, dude, this thing is massive. And there's an old, this goes back years, probably a decade or more. Have you ever seen the deer crossing audio, or not seen it, heard the deer crossing audio where the lady calls in to the radio station and says, I don't understand why they keep putting these deer crossing signs alerting all the deer to cross right in the middle of the roadway.
No.
Have you ever heard? It's real. It's so funny. And she's so bent and so amped up that the government would not put these signs like in remote places for the deer to find them. And the radio host is like, are you serious? And it just keeps going on for minutes. So it's a funny thing you get to listen to. It's about 3 minutes long where this lady actually believes that the deer are finding the deer crossing signs and it's not for the people driving down the roadway. But when you look at that bridge, it's nuts, dude. It is.
Yeah.
I mean,
you
could put Noah's Ark on the other side. It's that big.
Mm-hmm.
It would get 2 of every kind would come over.
Man.
I don't know. It's got to be hundreds of millions of dollars.
Well, I think that'll be very interesting to see what happens with that. I wonder if that's going to make it to where there's more population on the east side or less population. I don't know.
I just hope they find it.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, find it.
Good to see all the animals talking to each other. Hey, if you go up the road a couple miles.
Well, the thing
you
that
can
they
just hop
have
over.
done, they have started putting a bunch of those high fences along the highway. So those high fences, I think that's probably part of their plan is kind of just trying to funnel the high fences to the bridge or something. And I know that there's a couple, they're not bridges that go over, but they're tunnels. I know that they're that way. They're further south. There's tunnels that the wildlife can use to go under.
To go under. Well, what's crazy is if you go right up to where our church is in Castle Rock, they actually have the crossing. So instead of it being a ramp that goes over, it's a feeder that takes you up to the freeway. And I guess the point of it is if they get stuck, it gives them an out to get back out into the field. But if you're in the field, it gives you an in to the freeway, which is weird to me.
Huh.
And they're up and down. If you pay attention, they're up and down the freeway. There's these little gateway things.
Yeah.
And I guess it's to give them the ability if they get stuck.
Yeah.
But I think they just panic in traffic. I mean, like, what are you going to do? They're not going to go looking for a crossing, but, whatever. It's one of those things. Somebody's a better idea.
It would be very interesting to figure out how to get any type of statistics on roadkill in the area.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure that it's more than it's ever been.
Well, there's got to be something to build a bridge. I mean, that bridge has got to be got to be a $10 million bridge. I mean, it's huge. It's massive.
Well, unfortunately, what happens in the stories that really catch a lot of attention is whenever there's fatalities, there's human casualties, fatalities, however you want to call it. whenever they hit an elk or a deer, and then there's a fatal car accident because of that, hitting that animal. So that is the point that people are like, okay, let's figure something out so that we don't keep on putting people at risk. But thankfully, the majority of any car accident involving a wildlife, it's usually just the wildlife that is killed.
We're up. I'm sorry.
Go.
I'm up in Summit County. Law enforcement up in Summit County. This is 10 years ago, right before I retired. And 70 coming through the Eisenhower, heading down the hill. If you guys have ever run this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a multi-mile, 7 to 8 degree, 10 at one point drop on I-70 that takes you down into Dillon and Silverthorne. And it's the gauntlet. And there's runaway truck ramps up there for a reason. I mean, it's just, but the wildlife is crazy. 911 calls all the time. Somebody hit something. So we get a call one night. I got to go up to the 211.5 mile marker to go underneath the freeway to turn around to come back to the 209. And as I come up to the 209, there is a bull on top of a Subaru, has crushed the roof in the Subaru. And the driver is laying on the floorboard looking up at the bull. Not a scratch on him. It crushed the entire roof. He hit it going like 75 mile an hour, and it stayed on the car. Kills the bull. He comes to a dead stop, and he's literally just like laying flat on his back. We had to extricate him out of the car. It was one of the coolest law enforcement moments that I had, because this guy literally gets out, and I kid you not, like he kind of went, brushed himself off. He's like, well, that sucked. But that was awesome. He laid there for a while. It was actually very impressive when you pull up, because we're sitting there looking at the dude in the car, and he's looking at us. He's like, can you get this animal off the top of me? Yeah, true story.
Yeah, there's definitely some. I've seen some crazy videos like in Alaska of them driving super fast and hitting a moose. That's like a whole nother.
Dude, that'd wreck your house.
Oh, dude, I've seen some videos where it's like almost like the car just like they'll like go airborne and flip and all that kind of stuff. Assuming that they're not AI videos, which I don't think that they are. I'm pretty sure that they were real.
Can't tell anymore.
Yeah, it's getting harder and harder to tell, but. There's some that are absolutely crazy, going 75 miles per hour and then hitting a moose like that. Yeah. Like, I mean, those moose are weighing what, like close to maybe 1,500 pounds. Like those are some units. But anyways, that'll just be interesting. That'd be interesting to pull up the stats on that, because I mean, literally last night, I think it was either last night or the night before, Danny called me on his way from class. He was going home from class. He's like, dude, somebody just hit a deer in front of me, and I pulled over and I don't know what to do. And he's like, can you come over here and dispatch it? I was like, dude, what do you mean? Call animal control. They'll do it. Yeah. And he was like, yeah, okay. And he said, then that sucks. Well, they're just going to waste the meat. I said, no, they'll let you take the meat if you clean it yourself. Then
actually, if you're in the town or unincorporated Douglas County, you just call the PD or the sheriff, and they actually have contracts with people on guys that they'll call and they'll come out and get them. They're private.
It's like a lottery system, basically. Yeah. They basically call the first person, and if they're available, they get it. If not, they call the next person. Yeah. And they just have people who they trust to go clean it up. And
same way tow services work, by the way, for people that don't know.
Oh, tow trucks?
Yeah. They're on rotation. Yeah. If Dave doesn't answer, you're calling Ben. Ben goes to Adam. Yada.
Makes sense.
So this is not our topic today, but this is fun to talk about. So you're wearing something. This is the daily carry. What is the daily carry for Jared's hunt this morning that you got strapped around your chest?
So this is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. So this is a Sitka vinyl harness, and it's pretty much essential for bow hunting, in my opinion, because you got some compartments that are much needed. You've got some side compartments, like I keep my winder here. You ever seen one of these? You know this? You puff that and puff you get our wind's going straight up to the ceiling. That's pretty crazy. But I got that, and then I'm able to keep my reeds in there for my calls and all that. But I also keep a old school easy call in there, and I keep a headlamp on one side, and then I keep on this side, I keep my release for my bow, but as well as my rangefinder. But my rangefinder, I don't have on my tether, but I usually keep it on my tether. That way, whenever I am using it, I can just drop it, and I don't have to worry about it. That way, if I'm holding my bow with one hand, then I can range with the other and then just drop it and then get the release on there and be able to draw and shoot if I have to take a quick range on something for a reference. But usually I'm pretty good about trying to take references whenever I get to where I know I'm going to be posted up and I have got a couple options for shooting lanes. If I've got something I know is coming in, then I'll have a couple things ranged for reference already. But the thing with elk hunting is you really just count on staying in one place. Sometimes you have to be ready to move to a different firing lane if you have to. So sometimes you do have to be ready to range on the fly. But then in the middle, we've got some good old 12 by 50 Vortex crossfires here. And
That's a good lens right there.
yeah, it is. It does pretty well for what it is. You know, it's not a razor.
Yep.
It's not a Vortex razor, but
I actually like
works.
those. I like them because of the price point, and they're. I think they're solid. That's one I've used a couple different times.
Yeah, they get the job done.
Yep.
You know, they get the job done, especially whenever you've already got corrective lenses in. In my case, I've already got contacts. When I look through them, it's crystal clear. If I didn't have my contacts in, it might be a little bit worse. But I remember whenever I first got these, I had glasses still. And that's always the worst, man,
sucks.
trying to look through binoculars with glasses on. But what's super cool about the chest rig, and I know there's some hardcore archers out there, Cam Haynes being one of them, like they don't carry a sidearm. They just say, well, I'm out there hunting. You know, if something gets me, that's just nature. I don't really take that approach, especially if I'm going to be hunting with buddies or if my wife's with me or whatever. I'm going to make sure that I have a sidearm on me. In Colorado, we've got the probably the worst thing that we've got would be
Maybe
mountain lions.
Yeah, seriously, a cat.
Mountain lions. I mean, mountain lion attacks are still fairly uncommon in Colorado. They certainly happen, though, and I've got a pretty crazy story. I might have even actually said it before on an episode of my dad getting stalked by a mountain lion and almost jumped him. It's pretty crazy. If it wasn't for the guy sitting across the meadow starting to stand up and scream and wave his bow in the air to get the cat to run off, then my dad may have got pounced on. That was a pretty crazy story. That definitely, stories like that kind of wake you up. Like, well, I should probably make sure that I am ready if I need to be.
Dude, I don't go to the mall without a gun, much less in wildlife.
Woods. Yeah,
I mean, things are mean.
We don't have grizzly bears, although I have heard there's been some sightings up north in Colorado.
I know of 2 guys that have seen them.
That's crazy.
But again, up north, like Larimer County.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you know what we do have now? Unfortunately,
wolves. I was going to make a joke, but
wolves.
Yeah,
we do have wolves now
you
too.
Said
so
you
that's
going to go there.
That's going to be also, I guess, a concern. Black bears are not like the biggest concern in the world. You know, they're just like oversized dogs.
But I've seen the gray, so I know how to handle it.
Oh yeah, of course. You got to get a boomstick, right?
You got a boomstick, and at the end, you just need electrical tape and a couple broken bottles, and you just knuckle up.
Yeah.
Did you see that movie?
Of course, I saw that movie.
I mean, that's how you go down.
Absolutely.
You go down in a fist fight with wolves.
It's coolest ever.
Do or die. That's a great closing scene because it's like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. You pretty much like they come out and you're like, all right, they're dead, but there's still that chance that they didn't die. Like that game plan worked. So
yeah,
people are gonna be like, what are you guys talking about today?
Oh, let me finish this. Let me finish this EDC because I've got a couple different compartments that I put my reeds in. Reeds, they're just what you pop in your mouth to be able to hit elk calls with a bugle tube and even without a bugle tube. And then I also usually keep this little pack of wafers that have elk pee. They're scented with elk pee. And I keep them in a Ziploc, you know, because I got to keep the,
what do they taste
pouch.
like?
They're great for breath fresheners. They're just amazing. You got to use it as mouthwash. If you're a real serious hunter, then elk urine mouthwash. That's not I'm just joking. But no, I do keep some of those on here because if I'm posted up, I'll just put them on some twigs, put them out just to kind of help cover up in case the wind shifts because the wind does shift in Colorado quite a bit. So it's kind of hard sometimes to just be 100% counted on the wind being perfect because it's not always going to be perfect.
I'm not much. So I don't hunt. I've hunted men my entire career. I'm not a big game guy like you, but I've got to ask a question. So it's hard for you to get out there. You got to bugle and draw them in to get the shot. How do the guys get underneath them for the elk to pee on the wafers?
That's a great question. And wasn't that a question that was in like Jurassic Park or something?
Like that would be way harder.
How do they get dinosaur pee?
Yeah, that'd be way harder.
Yeah, no, I know that the urine that they collect and sell has got to be coming from farms or whatever, high fence farms or whatever.
Yeah, I'm joking.
Yeah. But then the last piece, I mean, that's it. This is the sidearm. There's a chest rig. It's right behind.
Ooh,
so I'm able to keep my Colt King Cobra right there in my chest rig.
Nice.
And it's a nice little spot for it. I know that I'm not going to accidentally lose it. That's a big problem with whenever you're hunting. Obviously, not all holsters are created equally, but even whenever you're carrying on the side, carrying, even if you were small to back, if you're riding like a mountain bike or you're riding a horse, you're out hiking, like you don't want to always have to be worried about losing your gun, dropping your gun. I was hunting with a guy a couple years ago and we're out on bikes and we just finished the hunt and we just got back to camp and he's like, shoot, I got to go back. I lost my gun. And I'm like, oh man, that's a bummer. Yeah. Because I mean, we had rode miles. And it just happens. Like you're out there on logging roads and it gets bumpy, it gets bouncy. You have a tendency to lose stuff. Like one year, my wallet fell out of my pocket. Thankfully, somebody behind me was watching, and they're like, "Hey, look, you're like." We stopped about a mile later. He's like, "Hey, by the way, look, here's your wallet." And I was like, "Oh wow, thanks." That would have sucked to be like, "Man, I got to retrace my steps and go try to find my wallet now." Yeah. So that's just a long story. That's a long way of telling everybody listening and just explaining that so far what I've found works the best for the kind of hunting that we do is this chest rig with all the compartments. It's perfect, but then also with the chest rig having the gun right there, that just works, works great.
No, I like it.
And this is what I like to carry whenever I hunt. I keep a couple extra rounds in the pouch as well. Whenever I have the capacity, if I have the room, then I have the speed loaders for this, so whenever I have the room for it, I'll put it in there as well. But this is what I prefer to carry. And this is, I think, about all we need in Colorado. Yeah. If we were in Alaska, if we were in like British Columbia,
totally different,
or something, then probably I'd be going with like a 44 Magnum, or maybe at least like a 45 Long Colt, which, by the way, I have carried the Judge in this as well. And the Judge does work pretty well in this chest rig as well. I haven't carried anything bigger than that, though, so I don't know how well a 44 Magnum would fit in here. Maybe a snub nose 44. I can only imagine how a snub nose 44 would feel to shoot.
Yeah, no, thank you. That 454 you guys shot the other day was about as short a gun as I want to shoot with that chambered round. That's a big round, dude. Remember the 450, the Casull that we were shooting?
Oh yeah, the one that we shot when we went on the camping trip.
Yeah. No. Out at
Oh, that was at Kyle's.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was massive fun. Was that the Raging Hunter?
Yeah. Taurus Raging Hunter. It's the short one. They have 3 different lengths, but that's the one that I carry if I'm backcountry and on a front pouch.
Yeah.
That thing will stop an engine block of a truck. It's pretty cool.
I'm sure it would.
Yeah.
There was just a video I just saw on YouTube of a guy shooting through an engine block all the way up the list of calibers. I don't remember what it was that got through. I might have gotten stopped short before I finished that video, but it was pretty interesting.
All you got to do is crack it. You got to crack it.
Crack the engine block.
Yeah, you don't have to punch a hole in it. You just got to.
To get the engine to stop. Oh, I thought I think the guy was just more so the video was like, how do we? Let's see if we can get through this. Right? Oh, because that's what a lot of guys teach is that concealment versus cover. The only thing that has somewhat cover is going to be that engine block. Yeah. So I think that was kind of the idea of the video is let's see how much cover there actually is in an engine block and what it would take to get through an engine block if somebody was using it for cover. I think that was kind of the premise of the video, but I don't know. But anyways, fun little gear review there.
That's cool. But it's good stuff too.
Outside of hunting and things going on like that in Colorado and other places in September, there's a lot of stuff going on in general in the world that it'd probably be a good idea to pivot to and talk about, have a little bit more of a serious discussion from here.
Well, that was dead serious for all the hunters out there, which I appreciate you. Good gear really does make a difference, and you can say what you want, but when you're out there and you're in the middle of it, that's your tried and true, right? I mean, if you think Special Forces, think Deltas, think SEALs, think these guys that are DevGru, I mean, that's everything to them.
Yeah.
You got the guy next to you, and you got what you got on you, and you got your battle plan and your training. Outside of that, what do you got? Conditioning. That's it. And your whole world depends on those things. So, yeah, if your kit doesn't flow for you, you got a problem. So, I think sharing this stuff is good. Everyday carry out in the woods. That was good.
I mean, and I have the Sitka bino harness. They're a little bit expensive. All the bino harnesses, any bino harness that's like a good one, they're going to be somewhat expensive. It's not like they're all crazy expensive, but I've got some that have the Everly stock bino harnesses that work pretty well. There's lots of different ones, but I've just found that if I'm going to get a bino harness, I want one with multiple compartments.
Yeah.
I gotta have quick access to stuff on my chest whenever I'm bow hunting. It's just got to be all there, and I have to have a system where it's like you said, it's just training, it's conditioning, knowing, okay, there's my wind puffers here, my reeds are right here, my finder's on this side, and my other calls are on this side, my headlamps on this side. Just knowing where everything's at and being able to quickly access it, that makes a big difference whenever pretty much every second counts whenever you've got bulls in front of you in the woods.
Yeah, I would say this is for any EDC thing is you got to work with your stuff. Putting it on your person and having it, that's one thing. But if you don't use it, you don't know where it's at. There's a lot of horror stories out there of dudes that have gotten in trouble pretty quick, even though they had something on their person because they didn't practice with it. And the next thing you know, you're, kind of behind the 8 ball pretty fast. So know what your equipment is, know what pouch you have it in, know how to use it, muscle memory, do it without seeing it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like mag changes in a gun. If you got to look at the gun, you probably need to be doing more mag changes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
and know which animal you're hunting. That's very important.
That actually is.
I was just joking with the guys this morning because it was Eric showed up and Alex showed up 5 a.m. Kyle's. Eric's a really good caller, so it was really cool. Alex, he's learning the ropes this year, and so he's actually finishing his hunter safety today. And so we were just talking about the hunter safety after the hunt this morning, and we were just kind of recalling our hunter safety. Eric's wife did it not too long ago, like 8 years ago, something like that. I did it whenever I was like the very first year that I could do it of the legal age. I think it might have been like 11 or 12. I don't remember exactly how old it was, but as soon as I could do it, I did it. But what's really funny is in that class, because it used to be you had to do an online portion, then you could go take the class in person. You have to take your test. In COVID, I think that they changed that because you can do 100% of it online now, from what I understand. That's what Alex was explaining this morning. And so I told the guys, well, you guys are going to miss the experience, because I remember being in that class and the instructor saying, okay, guys, well, now we have to go over our species identification, because a few years ago we had a guy think that an elk was a moose, or think that a moose was an elk. And so he shot a moose, and I just slunk down in my chair because I knew exactly who he was talking about. Oh, no. Because a few years before this, I was too young. I wasn't hunting myself, but I was with my dad. We were rifle hunting at the time. And this morning, so me and my brother and my dad were together, and some of our other family members are with us. We have an uncle with us. We have 2 uncles with us, actually, and some cousins. But my dad and my brother and me, we are on 2 elk. We've got 2 big bulls that are on a mountainside, just probably at least 400 or 500 yards away. My dad's shooting a 30-06. That morning was hilarious, man, because here we finally see some elk after a cold, hard winter of hunting where we've just seen nothing and been sitting in the middle of the snow. And we finally see these elk, and we're just so excited. We're like, yes, let's do this. And my dad, he's shooting at these elk 400 or 500 yards away, uphill on top of this ridge line. And they are like cliffside, man. Like you can just see rocks below them. And he's shooting, and he misses the big elk. They're both decent size, but there was one that was big. He misses the big one like 5 times. And he's just like yelling at my brother because my brother's got his back. He's like, give me some more bullets. Give me some more bullets. So he's reloading. And then the big one got off, but he ended up shooting the one that was a little bit smaller. But we were happy because it was like, dude, finally, we got something. That bull rolled. It tumbled down, and then boom, it was like Lone Survivor, that scene where they just throw themselves off the cliff. Whenever he killed that bull, it came rolling down and it fell down that cliff, man. Thankfully, it was okay. We recovered it all okay. But we heard a shot after that. We were recovering my dad's elk, and we hear one shot. And then we hear on the radio, elk down, elk down. And we're like, whoa, that's crazy. We got 2 elk this morning. That's amazing. So after we recover the elk that my dad just shot, we went over to meet one of my uncles in his spot where he was at. And we pull up. And we're just in the car. My dad's saying, what is happening? Oh, no. What is happening? And so we pull up and we get out of the truck, and we're walking up to my uncle. And my uncle's just holding his rifle. And he's like, well, what do you think, guys? Pretty cool, huh? And my dad's like, you know that that's not an elk, right? And he said, what are you talking about? That's an elk. He said, no, that is a moose. My uncle shot a moose and thought it was an elk. Granted, now listen, he was an inexperienced hunter. This was one of his first times hunting, if not his first time hunting. But regardless, he shot a moose, and so we did the right thing. Of course, we called the game warden and all that. At the time up there, my grandpa had a cabin close to the area, so we knew some of the people up there. We knew the game warden up there, so we called them. And of course, there was some trouble to be paid, but they ended up working with us and all that. But I just remember, and I will remember for the rest of my life, that that hunter education class, them talking about very well. I knew exactly who they were talking about. We got to go over species identification now because we had a hunter shoot a moose and thought it was an elk.
Thanks to Jared's uncle.
Yeah.
So a male moose and a male elk. The way I learned, and I've never forgotten, is you can see through the elk's antlers.
Uh-huh.
You can't see through the moose antlers.
Yeah.
The moose antlers are solid.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I learned.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't really defend my uncle too much, but I can say that the moose did have smaller, what do they call them? Like dishes. Mm-hmm. He had smaller dishes than like a typical moose. Like you would typically think about a moose having just like these big dishes. He kind of had like small dishes, like paddles in the front, and then the rest in the back were almost kind of elk antler like.
So he
but it was
shot
still very obviously, even me being like whatever I was, maybe 8 or 9 years old at the time.
You're like, that's a moose.
I knew it was a moose,
Yeah.
right? And anybody who really knew the difference would know that was a moose, right?
Yeah.
So I think that, yeah, that was definitely just. I don't know if he's gone hunting again since then, to be honest with you. But yeah, that was quite a morning. I remember that was just a long morning because we were dealing with a lot of things and game warden coming out, and we were just, yeah, we were in the woods for a long time that day. On one hand, super excited that we shot a bull, and then on another hand, we're dealing with this mess of illegally shot moose. So that was interesting.
That's a great story. That's one of those things where you keep it in your memory bank forever. You get to share the story over and over. Your uncle's probably embarrassed, but we've all done something that we all regret somewhere in life, I think, like that. And you go, yeah. And it seems so obvious when you look backwards at it. My dad got out. I'll never forget this. I'm like 5 years old, 4 or 5, small town Kentucky, gets out of the car. So he had hit something in the roadway. And he gets out, and you could hear it squealing. So it's alive. Its legs are broken. It ends up being it's a small deer.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a lot of deer in Kentucky. It's not like a populous thing. My dad gets out, he hits it, and he says, crap. He comes back to the car, and he pulls out a revolver. And I think it was either a 22 or a 38. It was not big. And he's like, I got to put this thing down. And he goes back there, and this is all I remember. I remember hearing the bang, and I remember hearing the scream. So he shoots the deer through the neck, but it doesn't hit anything. It just goes through the neck and hits the concrete on the road, hits a rock on the side of the road, and comes back and hits my dad in the shoulder. My dad shot himself. And we had to drive to the hospital. And the funny thing was, but at the time it ricocheted twice and came back and hit him, it really only went in like a quarter inch into his skin. And he was, the whole way to the hospital, he's like holding his shoulder. He's like, I shot myself. Wow. And he had to have been half drunk because he was always drunk. My dad was a raging alcoholic, but that was one of the dumb, funny stories of if he was sitting here today, if he was alive today, he'd be like, yeah, I shot myself. Here's the other thing my dad did. Yeah, we're not even getting on topic today. We're just having fun now. So my dad, being a raging alcoholic, small town Kentucky. So this is Monticello, Kentucky. Feel free to Google Earth this and Google Earth it in like pictures from 1974, so you get a better depiction of this town. This town is about as hillbilly as you can get. It's backcountry, redneck. I mean, as soon as you get outside of the town limits, you're dealing with some crazy stuff. I mean, it's Deliverance on steroids. And so my dad and his I don't know if he was his cousin or buddy. I don't know. His name was Buck Dishman. God rest his soul. he and my dad, Mike, used to go do some really dumb things. And then we had ridge runners. So we lived on a place called Span Hill outside of Monticello, Kentucky. I think it was County Road 1092. And up on top of this hill, they had stills. And these guys would run. I mean, we're talking 1970s, dude. It was a dry county. And you had ridge runners, and they would take moonshine and they would run it over into the wet counties. Legal stills. 1970s. This isn't like the 30s, like in Prohibition. So it was not uncommon to see a federal agency show up. And you always knew the feds when they came out. They were driving, these big, long black Impalas with a single light on top, and they get out and they'd have short sleeve white shirts and a black tie. They all look the same. They look like revenue agents, and they go up and they bust these guys and they chase them. Well, anyway, I share all that to share this. Up there, it's not uncommon to hear gunshots, a lot of gunfire, a lot of range shooting, a lot of drunken shooting. One day I'm standing outside the house and I got my little Tonka toys and I'm playing in the backyard of the sand thing that my dad made for me. And this dude comes down and just drops dead in our backyard. Just drops dead. He's a revenue, been shot 3 times. Dies in our backyard. This is like my first dead body, first person that I've seen. I'm like 6 at the time. And it's not a funny story. I mean, it's a sad story because somebody died, but the humor behind it is this is the kind of thing that just happened regularly. Well, now somebody's died, so it brings in all of these agencies to come in and investigate this thing, and they go up and they're chasing these guys around. Well, my dad, he's gone. He's drunk. He's out somewhere doing whatever. Well, he comes home and there's police everywhere. Like they're in our yard. And you got to keep in mind, this is 10 miles outside of town on acreage in the middle of nothing. So to have a cop car in your driveway when you pull up, and you're the town 23-year-old drunk at the time, my dad panics and runs. He thinks they're after him. He drives. They're having the county fair that weekend. This is on a Friday evening. My dad runs into town in his car and decides, I'm going to ditch the police at the county fair. I'm going to ditch him in the crowd. And keep in mind, everybody knows who Mike Richardson is. He's not hiding from anybody. If he pulled in, literally, my grandparents lived next door to the sheriff in town. Like they know who my dad is. They watched him grow up. So my dad sees him, panics, runs into town. And at this county fair, there's, you're talking the Wayne County Fair. You might have a tilt-a-whirl, maybe a small Ferris wheel, some cotton candy, and a few games where you throw stuff, and a couple rodeo clowns. Like this is the big event for the county once a year. This year they have an exotics cage. They brought in a pool, had an alligator in it, little tiny pool, and then they brought in a monkey cage, and there were 3 live living monkeys inside this cage. It was like a bird cage, big bird cage, and they're swinging. And this is fascinating. Early 1970s, when you have never seen a monkey other than on TV, right? There's no anything like that around there. Well, my dad runs into town. He's running from the cops who are not chasing him at all, has no idea any of this stuff has happened, goes into the county fair and is running and decides it would be a great idea to hide inside this cage. This is a true story. I wish I had 10 people here from Monticello, Kentucky, the sheriff himself, to tell this story. My dad runs through the back. So there's it's like this little housing things where the monkeys would go inside and hide, but they would come out into the cage. Well, my dad thinks he's hopping fences. So he just climbs up into this thing. And the next thing you know, he's getting the ever-living crap beat out of him by a bunch of monkeys. My dad got bit so many times they beat on him and they bit him. So then my dad gets transported to Somerset General Hospital for monkey bites in Kentucky. Now, 1974, think about this. There's no Google. There's no nothing. You got a bunch of doctors going, he could be disease infected and we have no idea what to do.
Wow.
So he was hospitalized. He ended up having to be quarantined. This is a true story. He had to be quarantined until they could figure out whether or not that he had been infected by these monkeys. Like 22, 23 years old.
What kind of monkeys were they? Were they like chimpanzees?
Like chimpanzees, yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, they beat him half to death.
That is insane.
The stories I could tell, I wish I had Bobby York and some other people that grew up with my dad. My dad's sister's still alive. Sharon's still alive. I'd love to have her here sharing some of these things. We could have just a fun episode talking about how dumb my dad was. He's Headley drank himself to death at 47. Guys, put down the bottle. If you got an addiction, put it down. He took my old man's life. He was a fun guy to be around, but he never grew up. But it's stuff like that. It's memories like that, I look back and I go, okay, there's something humorous that I got out of that. But dude, I mean, you had to see, like, I remember being 4 or 5 years old visiting my dad in the hospital.
Yeah.
And he was black and blue and bites all over his body.
That's crazy.
Quarantined because they didn't know what to do with a monkey bite. Yeah. So there you go. I don't even know where we're going today. I'm just having such a good time.
Well, you hit on something. I mean, you hit on something there at the end. Put the bottle down. I know you just said it in passing, but I think there's probably a good amount of people out there that need some encouragement, and that not only that area, but multiple areas. I've seen substance abuse destroy people, destroy marriages, destroy families.
It's been my whole life.
Destroy family. Yeah, it's the truth, dude. I mean, it's not just alcohol. Unfortunately, it's a whole lot more than alcohol, especially in states like Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've got potheads galore. The thing is everybody wants to act like it's okay, just a little bit every once in a while here and there. But that problem is that's never what it is.
Yeah.
It's never what it is. It starts to take over your life, starts to become your new normal, and starts to create problems that you may not even realize are there because of that.
Yeah.
So
And true.
It's the thing is anything that you've had, like I can't tell you how many friends that I've had that are like, I don't have a problem. Like I just took a whole month off just to see if I could, just to do it, just to make sure to tell myself I was under control. It's like, okay, that's good. But then you just pick it right back up, and it's just like you just did that so that you could feel good about yourself, and then keep on with your problem. Like that makes no sense.
You know what's hard about it? Since we transitioned to turn the corner into this conversation, this is obviously very real to me. And this was, by the way, this is what we were going today. We were actually talking about a couple other things, and we'll just talk about it next episode. This is a good talking point. So if you got an addiction, I don't care what your addiction is. An addiction is an addiction. It's hard. It's hard. And I'm very sympathetic to people that have got them or have gone through them, because at the end of the day, if you've not gone through it, you really don't know. So my dad was a raging alcoholic. I mean, he was a walking 2.0. Probably had 35, 40 jobs in his life before he died, all in a small town. So everybody knew who he was. He worked for everybody in town at one point or twice or 3 times, to the point nobody would even hire him anymore. And you become the joker of the town and the laughing stock. And that, that's hard to grow up in that. I moved away when I was 8. My parents divorced. So I didn't see all of the end byproduct of them, but I did go back and visit my grandparents in the summers. And my dad, nothing changed. It was the point. From the time I was 5 until I was 15, until I was 25, and then he's gone. I could drink a beer and not pick one up for 6 months and not think twice about it. I don't have any desire, any urge, any inkling, anything inside me. My brother, polar opposite. He inherited it. It's really weird. It's like it skipped. I mean, if it's a genetics thing, it skipped me for sure. Like I have if I have an addiction to something to drink, it's literally milk. I could drink chocolate milk 14 times. I drink chocolate milk after every hockey game, after rolling, any workout. Like that's my thing. But I don't have, like, my brother. I think he's sampled or tried every drug that there is. I smoked a cigarette when I was 11, and it was the most horrible thing I've ever tasted in my life. And I'm actually glad I did it, because there were 2 lessons. 1, I stole them. 2, I smoked them, and I hated it. And then I felt guilty for stealing them. My conscience took over. So I've been pretty fortunate to not have any kind of addictions like that. People that have them, the fight is real. Like the fight was very real with my dad. He never wanted to be an alcoholic. He just didn't know how to not be an alcoholic. And when you're in a small town environment like that, it makes it way, way harder, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because there's either you're all in because there's no place to hide. Like my brother could hide. He could hide. He went and moved to Michigan, and he's lived in small towns and big cities, and nobody really knows you. But when you live in a town where literally there's 90 homes, 100 homes, and another 500 outlying homes, everybody. Everybody knows you. And when you get that reputation, there's nowhere to go with it. That was tough. It was tough watching that. It was tough seeing it as a kid. But I will say this: my old man, he was a fun guy when he wasn't drunk. I don't think I ever saw him not drinking. He was a fun guy. He had a great character about him. He'd give you his all. The problem is his all would be for a week.
Yeah.
And then
That's
he
hard.
just, bam, crash. Bam, crash. And then it was always apologies. Man, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I don't want to be this way. I'm so sorry. And, you know, when you're a kid, you're like, well, then stop.
Yeah.
But you don't know until you don't know.
I've seen it, man. I've seen it. Thankfully, not anybody with my family, not none of my family members. I was thankfully raised without having to deal with a lot of that. I've got good parents. I've got good grandparents, and I had a good, solid upbringing. But what I can say is I've seen a lot of people, a lot of friends, a lot of very close friends have their struggles with that and have their struggles personally, not just with their families, but personally, where it's destroyed their marriage, destroyed their families, destroyed the respect that their kids, that their wives had for them, that it's hard to come back from that. But what I can also say is I really believe that I have the kind of a personality that if I were to pick any of that up, I would probably have a problem. I can say that, and it's just speculation, but I think that there's a lot of people that would probably say in jiu-jitsu, if you're a black belt, you probably have somewhat of an addictive personality. There's probably some people who got their black belt because they got absolutely addicted to jiu-jitsu, and then there's some people who ended up getting all the way to black belt just because they put in the grind. Even though they didn't want to show up, they kept showing up, and they just put the work in. Right? I became addicted to jiu-jitsu. And that was a young age for me, 14. 14, I started doing jiu-jitsu, and immediately I just got hooked. And I needed something like that. I needed something. Thankfully, it was jiu-jitsu. Thankfully, it was jiu-jitsu and not something else. Thankfully, it wasn't drugs or alcohol. I've never been drunk. I've never gone out and socially drank. I'm just not one for it. I've never been interested in it. And
neither is my son, by the way.
Which is awesome. And I think that is that's a testimony to his upbringing, you know, and I'm sure that, you know, you probably, with being able to have your stories of, hey, be careful, this is what happened with my dad, you know, and I've seen this with my family, just having people in your life who tell you to be cautious, I think that helps a lot. But I just have never picked it up, and I've never been interested in it. I think I've told the story before of how I had the stomach surgery whenever I was younger. I had acid reflux so bad that I lost so much weight. I ended up getting hospitalized with bradycardia, and that was when I was 14. I was in the hospital, and my heart was beating so slow, like they didn't know what to do. And it was just because I was malnourished because of this horrible acid reflux. When I had my first growth spurt, I basically grew out of the valve that my stomach had, and it was just like open. So I couldn't keep food down, nothing. It was horrible acid reflux. I couldn't sleep. I was just super unhealthy. But at the same time, at being 14, that's whenever I just finally got into like starting to go for runs, starting to lift weights a little bit. And it was just like this perfect storm of increased activity and very malnourished because of the condition that I had. So I was in the hospital for 2 weeks, and they basically had to be like, hey, you're not going to be able to have a corrective surgery until we know your growth spurt is for the most part done, and you're going to have to be very intentional about what you eat and make sure to take care of yourself. So for a long time, you know, whenever I was in my teens, I couldn't really eat normally because if I did, I would just be miserable with acid reflux. So I ended up having to be pretty regimented and eating pretty bland, healthy foods. So whenever I started doing jiu-jitsu, that gave me like a reason. It helped me because it gave me a reason for how I was eating and how I was on this regimen. And so now, rather than I'm just eating chicken and rice bland and turkey patties bland all the time for no reason other than just eating so that I'm not miserable, now I'm doing it, and I'm going to fuel all this as this is going to be my nutrition for jiu-jitsu, and I'm going to take this seriously. So I went from being like 125 pounds at 6 foot, by the way.
Wow.
125 pounds when I was hospitalized. That same year, as soon as I got out of the hospital, I was probably a month, maybe 2 months out of the hospitals whenever I went and tried jiu-jitsu for the first time. And I got beaten up so badly all the time because I was the smallest guy in the room. The first lesson I actually took was kickboxing. I did kickboxing because I went in and I was like, I would like to learn just mixed martial arts. I want to learn a little bit of everything. So I started with kickboxing. My first lesson was like MMA style kickboxing. And then my second lesson was jujitsu. And I was like, "Well, this is awesome." I kept doing both for years and years and years. I did both, and I trained MMA, trained all of it. But I just got hooked and fell in love with jujitsu specifically. And all that gave me a reason and a motivation to eat healthy. So now I was motivated. All right, I got to figure out how to cram in bigger portions, and I got to put some weight on. I'm too small. That was my logic. It was like, I got to get bigger so I can beat these dudes. Thankfully, I was able to develop a style within the first year of jiu-jitsu where I was still smaller. So I was able to develop kind of a smaller person's style with using a lot of techniques off of my back and things like that. But within the first year of jiu-jitsu, I went from like 125 pounds to a pretty solid 160 pounds. And it was just up from there. I got up to, by my senior year of high school, I was like 200 pounds and I was solid. I was competing all the time in jiu-jitsu. And whenever I say addiction, I mean, it was my addiction. Jiu-jitsu was pretty much life for me at the point. It's almost like God gave me a lifeline. Not almost. God gave me a lifeline. It's okay. I know you're struggling with this. I know that you're figuring out what to do. Here's this. You can focus on this and let this kind of be your outlet and use this to fuel and kind of be your motivation. So there's definitely a couple times where, there was injuries, setbacks, whatever, where there's always these moments that I believe God let me remember, okay, hold on. This is not your God. I'm your God. But I was literally my addiction. Yeah. And that's the struggle. And I think that's what a lot of people wrestle with these things is even if it's like a healthy addiction or whatever, like jiu-jitsu, thankfully it's a pretty good habit that you can have. But whenever it was my addiction, like I was every single day, all that I could think about, all that I could do, I was dreaming about jiu-jitsu. Watching videos in between classes. That's all that I did. Trying things on my friends at school. It's literally, it was my addiction. And I was competing almost every tournament, if not every tournament. And the tournaments had like multiple divisions. I was just doing everything.
Dude, there's a wall of medals up there.
Which, by the way, pretty much the majority of those from high school. Yeah. Because I peaked in high school in my competition career. But that's neither here nor there. But that's just to say, it was my addiction. And even with that being a healthy addiction, I still had to have checks and balances. Yeah. And there would be times where I got injured and I got hurt. And it would be ways of God reminding me and bringing me back to, remember, I gave this to you. But I am God.
Sure.
Remember what it's about. And even to this day, sitting in this gym, sitting in the Rock Jiu-Jitsu team, I'm here not because I'm addicted to jiu-jitsu and not because jiu-jitsu is something that I put before God at all. God, I believe, put jiu-jitsu in my life. And thankfully, having the upbringing that I did and being sensitive to some of these checks and balances, God has continued to remind me jiu-jitsu is in my life for a reason. And it's, I believe with all my heart, to glorify God. To glorify God and to lead people to God.
Well, if you look what you've done with it, the build of the gym, your competitions, all of that stuff, what drew you and I together. I mean, there's story after story after story that is relatable to you and I. People sitting out here in, Spotify land listening to it are going like, what are you talking about? I think you can equate this, and you could go across the board to many things. There's a lot of bad addictions, obviously. We can all name those: drugs, too much drinking, porn, video games. I mean, there's just a lot of things you can be unhealthy in because you get baptized in it, so to speak. Yeah. And then there's things that you can do, to your point, where they're actually good for you, but you can be so involved in them that you're also missing out on other things in life. Healthy balance, I think, is important. If I ever have a conversation with a dude who comes to me and he says, "Man," and I want to temper this with, I don't have it all together. It's a perception. And so I want to be very clear when I say this. I've had guys come and go, "I don't understand, man. You seem like you're well off. You got businesses. You've been married 31 years. Your son, he's working at this law firm. Your daughter went through the Navy. Like, I mean, how did you do it, man? Like you got the lucky chips." And I go, no, I didn't. What I got was I got beat down as a kid. I had a drunk father. I had a family that, the day I was born, hated each other. 16-year-old dad, 16-year-old mother, small town Kentucky, bumped uglies in the middle of the night. I'm born in a 64 Impala, conceived, I should say. In a 64 Impala, I'm born. My dad's dad was the elder of the Baptist church. My mom's father was the preacher of the Christian church, literally across the street from each other in Monticello, Kentucky. Their front doors faced each other.
That's crazy, man.
Let that sink in for a second. So the pastor's daughter's pregnant by the elder's son from across the street.
Wow.
Let me tell you about non-Christian love for a second. My mom's dad got run out of the church. Yep. We can't have a preacher. You know, this is that Southern ego, pride. I mean, I could just go on and on about it because it still exists to this day in small towns, but you're not a good Christian kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, this is why people hate the church and they hate Christianity so much, is because you have this judgmental. So that's what I was born into. Never had a birthday or a Christmas that I ever enjoyed for the first however many years of my life because nobody ever talked. I mean, like, if I went to this side of the family, they hated me, and then I went to that side of the family, they hated me. Like, oh, whatever. So I had to work my tail off. I left home by the time I was 15. Essentially, I was out of the house. My mom and I never got along. To this day, we still don't talk. I mean, forgiveness has been done, but there's just no communication. I learned all the things not to do, essentially.
Yeah.
And I just took them, and I was like, okay, if there's a lesson in life, it's get up every day, do something hard. Don't make dumb, idiotic decisions through addictions. Don't become a hypochondriac. And ultimately, be responsible for yourself. Like, nobody's going to do it for you. And that was it. And as God would have it, Jana and I knew each other from church camp when we were kids growing up. Ended up dating during her master's degree graduation time frame. It's when we started dating, got married, and buckled down and just got after it in life. And so when somebody asked me, you know, how did you do this? It was a lot of trial and error, a lot of knockdowns, a lot of brokenness that helped me dig in, helped her dig in. Our kids, I think, saw the byproduct of their parents working hard and getting after it. And even in adulthood, I have had my share of stuff where I go, well, lost massive monies on a endeavor down in Texas that was just going to be so epically cool. Here I am at 57, still trials and tribulations, things that you go through, life that you go through. Everybody's got stuff that they deal with. So when somebody says, man, you have it together. No, what I have is I have a drive and a motivation to keep it together. Because at the end, I could be just as wayward as anybody. I've had my shortcomings. I've had my sins. I've had my failures. And the guys that know me best know that. I had a friend call me the other day on the podcast, and he was like, dude, you've really turned some things around from 25 years ago. And I said, yeah, I have, because I had to. At the end of the day, otherwise I would have been in a terrible position. I was running and gunning and getting after it. And you talk about an addiction. I went from hockey was my addiction and racing cars. So I started racing young, go-kart, circle track, that kind of thing. Thought I was going to play pro hockey. Ended up not playing pro hockey. Ended up actually just playing on a lot of practice squads for junior teams. Still play to this. I played last night. Still play. Still love the driving thing. But my addiction became law enforcement. My addiction became hunting people that hunted the kids. Like, that was my passion because of sodomy, because of what happened when I was a kid. And I never told anybody why. But because I was a driver and because I could race, I knew I could get into pursuits. And because I have some weird discernment thing that God gave me on being able to kind of just see the bad through the good and find it quickly, I would get into a lot of stuff. There were guys in the agency that would honestly come over and just do ride-alongs with me, even though they were cops. Go, like, how are you doing this? Well, one, I know cars. I know how to run them down, and I loved foot chases. And that became my addiction. That became a really big deal to me. And to the point that Jana was at home. Our son was 2. We had been in the Carolinas for several years, a couple hundred car chases, lots of stuff, been shot, all of it. And you go, man, I'm going to die in this job, and I'm going to abandon my family, or I'm going to be divorced if we don't get out of here. And we moved to Colorado and slowed down a little bit. I mean, I still had a super active career, but intentionally slowed down. because it was an addiction. I absolutely loved it. And that's so many guys come out of law enforcement and that became their identity, and they get out and they don't know what to do. I had to slow down so that law enforcement didn't become my identity, so that I could be a good husband and a good father and lead well to the best of my ability, and yet still be a very productive member of the agency that I was in, no matter what role I was in.
Yeah.
And that's where I caution people: don't let that thing that you love, that you feel like you love the most, consume you.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it will. I mean, in my opinion, it will. I've seen too many guys crash and burn.
Man, it's awesome that you say that and you give your story and your perspective on it and your addiction, because even what you said, like, that can be a good thing. Like, you're helping people. Like, you're out there putting bad guys away and you're protecting the innocent. That's a good thing. And I believe that, just like you said and I said from my story, that God will give us the right thing to be able to pour ourselves into, to be able to also pour into us. Because here's the thing. I think that anybody out there listening, because we started talking about bad habits, right? And that's what we really needed to talk about. Anybody out there who's needing help breaking some kind of a bad habit, a bad addiction, that's a huge problem. Thankfully, it sounds like you and I were both on the same page of what we got super hyper focused on something that could have absolutely led us to where we were overly focused on that, and it hindered and hurt us in other areas of life. Thankfully, you and I both had God help us, wake us up, and we did what we needed to do. We pivoted, and it's not that we cut it out of our life. It's that we learned how to balance it and how to make sure that we're putting God and our families where they belong in the order of these things, right? So the point that I'm making is, you and I both had something that we could almost consider or call kind of like a vice. Without these things, it probably would have been way easier for some of those bad habits or bad addictions to start to get a foothold.
Right.
Without those, what could be called good addictions, almost, right?
Sure.
Without those, it could have been much harder. And it reminds me of and I've referenced the book several times. We went through this book, The Habit Blueprint, recently in the Bible study next door. And whenever we went through this book, there's a chapter that talks about how breaking a bad habit's not just enough. It's not enough to just break the habit. It has to be replaced. You have to replace your habit with something else. That's what's going to help you. And so I think about that in the context of what you and I both just shared. We didn't really have to break a bad habit. We had a habit that we fell in love with that wasn't necessarily bad, but we had to learn how to balance that. For other people, without that good habit, that's going to be very difficult for you to sometimes break that bad habit. You got to break the bad habit, break the addiction, but then replace it with something else.
Yep.
Find something else. And that's scriptural. And I pulled this up so that I can make sure not to get it wrong, but it's in Matthew, and it's Matthew 12:43 through 45. And this is a scripture that says, when the unclean spirit has gone out of a person, it passes through waterless places, seeking rest, but finds none. Then it says, I will return to my house from which I came. And when it comes, it finds the empty house swept and put in order. Then it goes and brings with it 7 other spirits, more evil than itself, and they enter in and dwell there. And the last state of that person is worse than the first. So also will it be this evil generation. So it's worse in the end than the beginning whenever you're talking about just somebody who at first they're like, all right, this evil spirit's getting out of me, right? But then it's not replaced with anything.
Right.
And it's just empty.
Right.
It's just,
and it comes
goes
back
out,
worse.
And then it comes back worse, right? So whenever you try to break an addiction or break a bad habit, but you're not replacing it with something, then it comes back worse than it was. Just resisting and just using your own will to try to break some of these habits, to break these addictions.
That's hard.
And then not replacing it with something.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Replacing it, I think that absolutely you got to find something, whether it's jujitsu, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's crocheting. I don't know. Yeah. But you got to find something to help supplement. Like whenever you've got that urge, you got that tick. All right, you get busy doing something else. But also what's more important than that is finding help that you need in Scripture, in the Bible, in the Word, and also in God. Because here you have this infinite force for good that's just been sitting there behind a door that you might have been keeping closed this entire time. And all you got to do is open it up.
Right.
Say, God, I can't do this on my own. I need help. I don't want to live like this anymore. And it's just like, it reminds me of the story you just told about your dad, where he'll say, sorry, I don't want to be like this. And you're just like, well, just stop.
Right.
And I mean, your dad obviously grew up around Christian people, his dad himself being involved in the church on the leaderboard. And he probably had people come along, but it takes not just the right people, it takes you yourself opening up that conversation, being honest with yourself and honest with God, saying, God, I've failed. I don't want to keep getting this wrong anymore. Can you please help me? I don't want to just take this bad habit out, but I want you to replace it with something. Because you and I both agreed with it pretty much being our calling. Like God gave you this discernment to be able to tell and to be able to help with people. I believe that God put jiu-jitsu in my life, and he put it in my life for a reason. So it's a matter of you got to be praying that God helps you to know, have your eyes open, to replace this bad habit, this bad addiction with what's God intended in your life. Because God has a purpose for your life. He's got giftings and callings for you. It's a matter of figuring out what your purpose is. And that takes just a conversation with God. That takes opening up that door and being honest and vulnerable, saying, I can't do this on my own. Help me break this habit and fill it with something else. Fill it with your will. That's it. Fill it with your will.
You hit on something. It just cued this with me. So I'm showing this to you. Well, I'll just say it. So it's a picture of a cowboy walking out of looks like a loafing shed, and it says, no matter how far you have walked away from God, the return trip is only one step.
Wow. That's awesome.
Isn't that, like, I took a picture of that last night. Like, there's a lot of cool memes out there, but that one really hit me because it's so very true. You can stray, and all it takes is to turn around and take one step back in the right direction. And for me, I'm so glad we ended up talking about this today, even though this was not at all what we were going to talk about, which is also part of what I love about this podcast. Even the relationship that we have is we can just kind of run with things. Whether there's 2 people listening or 200,000 people listening, this is really, I think, for me, what I just read, it really impacted my life years ago along that line, because I was wayward without knowing I was wayward, and there were some things that I actually did know I was wayward on that I got corrected. But here's for me where I got lost in my identity, and this is something that I never shared with anybody. And this was so I covered up something, and I hid something, and I lied about something that it's not so much that I did something necessarily wrong. I mean, I violated a policy in law enforcement. I didn't violate somebody's rights. I've never done something to hurt the citizenry of the United States of America. Law enforcement's a very difficult job, and it's gotten a bad rap in the last few years, especially this whole defund the police and all this nonsense that's going on. People have no idea what it's like to do this job. But I will say this. I got caught up so much in going after the guys that were hurting the kids that it became almost mission-centric for me. I'd go in, and this is the way I would start. So for people that are not in law enforcement, this is a quick explanation. So a BOLO, that's what we used to call them, is be on lookout for. So it could be a car, it could be a person, an endangered something, a autistic kid who's wandered off, anything, BOLO. Be on lookout. So we'd get BOLOs. I would always go to the stolen car BOLOs. That was my thing. Not that I didn't want to help people, not that I didn't help people. In fact, if it was a kid, it was always my mission, as I said a second ago. But the reason I went to the stolen cars is because in order to commit a crime, you got to go from point A to point B. There's a lot of guys that do it on foot in the inner city, but when you get into the outlying areas, you're doing it in a vehicle. And to me, that was the easiest way to get into a car chase. And I loved car chases. I absolutely loved running people down in a car, solving a crime, catching the person, getting that other person's car back undamaged to the best of my ability. It's like I solved 3-4 crimes at one time. And almost always they were connected to something else. And they would always want to roll on somebody. And I would always go to them as far as if there was anything pedophilia based or somebody that was assaulting or hurting kids. When I would catch somebody, I would always dig into it from that angle. And I can't tell you how many people I arrested for sodomy and sexual assault on minors. Like, that was my thing that I went after. So I'm chasing this dude one night, and this is where everything changed for me in law enforcement. Everything, all in one moment. I'm out. I'm in a district. I'm undercover We get into a pursuit. It's a we're way out in the country. I mean, like there's nobody out there. This is a high speed deal. We're running anywhere from $105 to $140 on the high end, 95 on roads that were 50 on back end curvy roads. This guy had sodomized kids in a church kind of deal. And he's running, and there's a passenger in the car with him who's a crackhead. And this is why I say these things always come back together in some weird way. The guy in the passenger seat of the car has got a 38, and he leans it out the window at like 100 miles an hour, and he's firing upside down. Like you can see it. Boom. I'm driving. I'm behind him, 3-4 car lengths, curvy road. You see the muzzle flash. This is late at night. It's like 1 a.m. because all you see is the muzzle flash from this 38. And I see the muzzle flash, and like a second later, I feel my thigh on. It's like it's on fire. And I look down, and I do this. I sweep it away, and it was the lead, the slug from the 38. He had hit the A post on the window on the passenger side. It came off, it ricocheted, hit me in the, let's try that again, hit me in the trauma plate.
That's probably close to what it sounded like.
Yeah, it's just like that. Hit me in the trauma plate, and then fell down, and the hot lead was burning my thigh. That's how I knew that a round had come in. I did not know that I had been shot.
Wow.
Hit me in the trauma plate. Now, you're amped up a little bit in these moments. I was pretty calm, cool, and relaxed in car chases. I was kind of low key, but I was a little bit more amped up because of the shots were being fired. And obviously, I don't want to get hit, but I want to stop the guys. I tell the story to say this. I wasn't supposed to be out, and I shouldn't have been in that chase. But I wanted this guy, and I'd been tracking this guy nonstop for a couple months. And I finally have now, I've got him. It's hot. It's in the act. And I want this guy. And I never told anybody about it. Like you key up on the radio, 1075, which means shots fired. I never said anything. Never said anything. And I knew at that moment that was a big no-no in the agency. You know, you don't get hit with a bullet and not tell somebody. And as embarrassed as I am to sit here and share that now, I've shared the story many times. I mean, it's very freeing. This was like in 96. This is a long time ago. That guy ended up going, the guy that I was after ended up going to jail for a long period of time. He got arrested by somebody else. He didn't get arrested that night. He got arrested by somebody else. The passenger that fired the round, he ended up dead under circumstances later, not related to that. That's one of those things that when I look backwards at it, I was so deep that I had forgotten about my family. I had forgotten about my son. I wasn't thinking about anything other than I just want to go out every day and I want to go get these guys because they're hurting kids. And I was too deep. There is a protect the kids, and then there is a I'm pursuing too hard. I'm pursuing too hard. Like it was an addiction for me to go find these guys.
Yeah.
And I'm talking within the confines of the law. I'm not talking about outside of it. I just happened to I shouldn't have been out on shift that night.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part. I knew then. I was like, yeah, I want to step back and reevaluate my life at that point. And I think everybody has to go through something at some point. I wish my old man had stepped back and just been a dad. I wish he had just been a dad. You know, I wish my grandparents had gone, you know what? They were two kids, whether they should have done it or shouldn't have done it. Now we have a life. We have a grandchild. Let's just love each other as families.
Yeah.
And you live with these regrets that other people have done. And you live with regrets that you've done. And there's things like that where I just go, man, that was an awakening for me.
Yeah.
In that moment. I could have lost my life that night. And who would have explained that to my bride? Who would have explained that to my kid? Not because I was doing something other than chasing pure evil. And when I say evil, I'm talking a guy who was literally raping children.
Yeah.
The kind of person you want off the street at all costs. And it's hard when you look back, because I have a couple of regrets in law enforcement. That's not even so much, that wasn't a regret in law enforcement. My only two regrets in law enforcement were two cases that I couldn't solve. that to this day are unsolved. But I know who did it. I know who did it. But that's a whole different story. The point is, if I live with a demon in law enforcement, it's those two cases that I couldn't solve that both involved either a child or a young girl. And I just wanted that. I wanted the end result so bad that it became my addiction, it became my life.
Yeah.
And it was unhealthy. And I had to step back and go, okay, God, I'm into this thing. Now what do I do? Now what do I do? And it was like a door open. We got on a plane, flew out to Colorado in 97 to visit somebody, saw the mountains for the first time in my life. And I went, oh, this looks awesome. Jana looks at me, she goes, we're moving, aren't we? And I'm like, yeah, let's move. And that's literally how it happened. And I think that trip happened out of nowhere. The plane tickets were given to us by a friend. They're like, you got to go to Colorado. You're going to love it. Go take that honeymoon you never had. And we did. And I think that was God seeing and saying, it's time. Stay in your career, temper yourself.
Yeah.
I'll protect the children. You catch the bad guys. We'll take care of this. So I continued on with my career, had a great career, worked for amazing places, worked with amazing people, have great stories. Still only 2 regrets, both from the Carolinas on cases that I couldn't solve. And but man, did it slow me down, and it gave me the ability to come home every night and look at Jana and go, I love you so much. And I want to be here for my kids. And I don't want this to be my whole identity. I want to do it. I want to do it well. I want to serve honorably, but what I don't want to do is have this be my identity. I'd wake up every day looking to go chase somebody because I wanted to get the bad off the streets. And then I somewhere realized it's you against the world, Micah. You can't do it. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way.
Well, great story. And everybody listening, you got to find your calling. If you haven't found it already, you got to find it, because that's what it's all about, you know? And here you are, Micah, and things change. Obviously, you're not out on the streets chasing bad guys right now, but you are equipping people, preparing people, helping people. And that's what it is. It's not always going to be this static, this is it. You're only going to do one thing for the rest of your life. Isn't it amazing the life that comes with whenever you just surrender and you just say, I know that I'm not on this earth just to serve myself, but God, I know you have a reason. I know you have a purpose for me. And whatever that is, that's what I want to live. That's what I want to carry out. Isn't that amazing whenever you've actually submitted to that, and then you look back over the past year, 5 years, 10 years, and you see the compounding effect of, this is because I've just continued to put one foot in front of the other while I've been praying and asking God to lead me and lead my family. Yeah. There's nothing like that. That is what it's all about.
It's astonishing how many doors open up too, because Jana and I have been through a handful of things in an adult life, post law enforcement retirement, and things that had happened in the church, and on and on. And yet doors just keep opening and keep opening and keep opening. And there is something to be said. And people can argue all day long, well, God isn't real. You know, faith is this. And, you know, we got a crazy world right now. People kind of losing their minds and this wokeness and all the stuff that is going on. Just about every single person I know that is really faith-driven, genuinely faith-driven, like follow, they've had multiple bad things happen in life, and yet they always come out the other side. I don't know really, honestly, anybody that does not come out the other side going, I am so grateful for my faith. Because at the end of the day, there's hope in that. There's just not hope in worldly things. Worldly things are fun. I like ATV riding. I like going fast. I like doing stuff. I like playing hockey.
I know you do.
But the faith, like that's the core of you. That's your relationship. That's your eternal salvation. And it took me a long time to understand that. I knew it was there. It had been preached to me, preached at me. Can't tell you how many beatdowns I got from my grandfather. You know, you got to do this. And I'm like, well, aren't you the guy who's not loving, you know? And we'd go back and forth, man. I mean, it would get tumultuous. But later in life, I understood that underlying message of what he was getting at.
Yeah.
And it is amazing. It is an absolutely amazing relationship when you submit yourself and you let go of all that stuff you're trying to control, and you just go, I don't want to do this anymore. How many doors will open on the other side once you get past that? But you got to get past that. I really genuinely believe that. And I've had it happen a handful of times in my life where I'm like, nope, I got this. I'm going to control it. And the next thing I know, it's like, oh, this is not going how I thought it was going to go. And I let go and I surrender. And I'm like, here I am. I'm right back to that feeling again of like, why did I not, and it's hard sometimes.
Yeah.
It's easier to say than do. There's no doubt about it. At least for me. I can't speak for anybody else.
That's true. And that's why sometimes it literally takes help. It takes God. It takes getting on your knees. It takes being honest with yourself. I can't do this on my own. I need your help, God. And then it takes surrounding yourself with the right people that are going to help you stay accountable to that are going to help encourage you to stay on the straight and narrow, to stay on the road less traveled. And all that, it's so worth it. So if you haven't started that journey, well, it starts the way that we're going to finish this episode right here today. And I'm ready to close this out. If you're ready, I'll close this out and say a quick word for anybody listening. Say a quick word for us and believe that God's listening and he's going to answer. Lord, thank you for another episode, another opportunity to sit down and have a conversation. Lord, we want to glorify you at the end, at the beginning, and all throughout the middle of every single episode. It's all about you, Lord. We want to point to you. We want to point to your goodness and your mercy. You are so good, and your word is so clear. Thank you for your word, and thank you for making it clear, Lord, that your arm is not shortened. It says in Isaiah, your arm is not shortened, and your ear is not deaf. You save and you hear. You hear us, and you hear this prayer right now, God. God, it is true. Everything that we have said, you've been so good to us. You've been so good to our families. We thank you for your blessings. We thank you for leading us. We thank you for the things that you've put in our lives. We thank you, Lord, for the temptations and the bad habits that you've kept out of mine and Micah's lives, Lord. And God, we pray that you would continue to encourage us, that you would continue to help us to encourage and sharpen each other, Lord. And God, we pray for everyone listening, Lord, that you'd let them know that there is nothing that can separate them from your love, Jesus, that you're standing right there, that you're ready as soon as they're willing and they surrender themselves and ask for help, that you're ready to help, God. I pray for everyone listening that you would be with them, that you would strengthen them and encourage them. I pray for any and every bad habit, every addiction, Lord. I pray, Lord, that you would help us to break those things that are holding us back from the life that you have called us to live, Lord. And I pray that you would help us, God, that you would fill us with your purpose, God, and help us to surrender and submit to that purpose and walk the road that you put in front of our feet. I pray that you'd be a lamp to our feet, Lord, and that you would lead us and teach us to follow after you. I pray that you'd teach us to walk with you, Lord. We love you and we praise you. We put it in your hands. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right.
Till next time.
Till next time.